Okay, let's unpack this. You sent us something really gripping, a raw first-hand account from Salva Rosales.
Yeah.
His YouTube video, Estuve muerto y esto es lo que es. I was dead and this is what I saw. It details a near-death experience that clearly just shook him to his core.
Absolutely.
So we're going to really dig into his story today, pull out those moments that just make you stop and think and, see what insights we can maybe glean from such a dramatic event.
Well, what's immediately striking is just how visceral it is, how personal.
Right.
You've basically given us front row seats to a life really hanging in the balance. It just underscores how unexpectedly fragile our health can be.
Mm-hmm.
And it also reveals where people can find inner strength, sometimes in the most unlikely circumstances.
Yeah.
So our goal here, I think, is to follow the events step by step, really try to grasp the immense physical and emotional suffering Salva went through.
And the takeaways, right, what he learned.
Exactly, the key lessons.
Right. So the whole ordeal kicks off around 3 p.m. Salva's at his job. And this is kind of an interesting detail. He was doing quality control for technicians analyzing. He called it secret astral designs for a public entity. It sounds like they were basically just making maps.
Okay, maps. Got it.
Anyway, he gets this sudden, really sharp pain, lower right abdomen. He described it as a deep internal stab, not like a muscle pull.
Oof. Yeah, that sounds serious. Appendicitis immediately comes to mind with that description.
Exactly what his colleagues thought. They're like, Salva, it's probably your appendix.
Just go to the nearby hospital, which was Hospital Rosales.
Yeah, but he was having none of it. He had this really negative view of Hospital Rosales. Heard bad things, apparently.
That's interesting in itself, isn't it? How perceptions of healthcare can influence these critical snap decisions.
Totally. So instead of the closed option, he decides to travel, way across town to a newer hospital near his family.
How far are we talking?
He estimated 1.5, maybe 2 hours in peak traffic.
Wow. With that kind of stabbing pain, that journey must have been agonizing.
Unbearable, I'd imagine, just amplifying the whole time.
Yeah, and delaying treatment, obviously, which, with something like appendicitis, time is really of the essence. That decision, wanting to be near family, hoping for better care, it's human, but it likely made things much worse.
For sure. So he finally gets to this newer hospital. He's in absolute agony, can barely move.
Right.
And even then, he's thinking about his mom. Manages to get his backpack sent to her via a friend, but doesn't even tell her where he is.
That's quite something. Selfless, in a way, amidst the pain.
Yeah. But then, instead of quick help, he gets stuck with medical students doing these repeated, painful appendicitis checks over and over.
Oh, man, you can picture it. The frustration on top of the agony. Just help me.
And then, the kicker. It's 9 p.m. He's been there 6 hours.
6 hours?
6 hours of escalating pain, these checks. And they tell him they can't operate. No doctors available.
You're kidding. At the newer hospital?
Yep. No surgeons free. It's just unbelievable, right?
That's shocking. Absolutely shocking. So what then?
So after all that, they tell him they have to transfer him to Hospital Rosales.
No. The very place he wanted to avoid.
The exact place. The irony is just dark.
Wow. Okay. And the transfer itself? Let me guess. Not smooth.
Not even close. First, no ambulance.
Yeah.
Have to wait for one coming for someone else, someone with a severe head injury.
Oh, boy. Resource issues. You can see the system straining already.
Totally. And then the ambulance arrives, but it only has one stretcher.
Sure.
So Salva has to sit in the passenger seat.
Sit. With suspected appendicitis, possibly ruptured by now? That must have been torture.
Unimaginable. And his friend couldn't even go with him. Denied entry.
Alone again, in agony, in the front seat of an ambulance. That journey must have felt endless.
He said it was even worse than the first one. And then he finally arrives at Rosales, the place he dreaded. And somehow, it gets even more dehumanizing.
How so?
Well, he's alone, right? So he has to physically stand in line to register while doubled over in pain. And the admitting nurse is just dismissive, almost scolding him for being alone.
Lack of empathy right there. Wow.
Then he needs to change. They point him to a bathroom. You described it as horrific. No lock, no light, urine on the floor.
Basic dignity. Gone.
Completely. And after changing, there are no beds. So they just leave him, sitting at the hospital entrance, naked except for the gown, cold.
Left.
Yeah.
Sitting at the entrance. After all that, it speaks volumes about the conditions, doesn't it? A system completely overwhelmed, maybe.
It seems like it. And it gets worse. Around 1 a.m., he feels himself fading decompensating.
Okay.
A nurse finally notices, gives him a quick pain injection, says she'll be back.
Yeah.
Never returns, just vanishes.
Oh, no. Abandoned.
He spends the rest of the night, hours, just sitting there in excruciating pain, alone, ignored.
That's borderline negligence. The psychological impact of that, feeling completely helpless in a place where you're supposed to get help, it's awful.
Just awful. Then finally dawn, around 5 a.m., February 14th, Valentine's Day.
Oh, wow.
He's outside the operating room area, and he sees this chilling scene. Doctors coming out from surgeries, announcing deaths. Just blunt.
Yeah.
Died. Couldn't save him. He even heard one doctor make this bizarre comment looking for their last dead person.
Surreal and terrifying for him, waiting his turn. What must have been going through his head?
Pure fear, I imagine. That atmosphere. And then a nurse just walks up to him. Matter of fact, you are next.
Like it's nothing, just you're next.
He said his world just collapsed. They wheel him in, and the ordeal continues, trying to get the spinal anesthesia in.
Difficult.
Extremely. Big needle, apparently.
Yeah.
Agonizing. The nurse is struggling, forcing it, he says. He feels this sharp pain shooting through him.
Not ideal. That sounds rough. Could be technique, could be urgency, but painful regardless.
And clearly it didn't work properly, because mid-surgery, he wakes up.
No, he woke up during the operation?
Yes. He looks up, sees this circular mirror they use,
Yeah.
and sees his own intestines exposed.
Oh my God. That's the stuff of nightmares.
He said the nurses, the doctor, they were visibly shocked. One yelled to cover it up. A doctor initially didn't believe it, but then confirmed, yeah, he's awake.
To be aware during that, I can't even fathom. That's a major medical error.
That's
psychological trauma.
And then things take another turn. Completely unbelievable. He starts having what sounds exactly like a near-death experience.
Okay. What did he describe?
A buzzing in his ear first. Then he notices the heart monitor slowing down. Beep, beep, beep. He feels this incredible crushing pressure in his head. Not painful, he stresses that, but intense pressure.
Right.
Then breathing gets harder. His hearing starts to fade out. Vision goes dark. He feels like he's suffocating, wants to scream for help, but can't make a sound. And his thoughts just zeroes in on his children. And then blackness. Everything stops. The pain, the pressure, gone.
That sequence. The fading senses, the pressure, the focus on loved ones. It aligns remarkably well with many NDE accounts. That moment of blackness, the cessation of pain, often marks clinical death.
And what he describes next is profound, this feeling of just complete peace, tranquility. He sees himself like standing in this dark space, but it's somehow lit, empty.
Okay.
And he hears his children crying on his right and his mother praying on his left.
Wow. Auditory perceptions common in these accounts too.
He realizes in that moment, I'm dead. And he prays, asks for forgiveness, submits to God's will, as he put it.
A moment of realization and surrender.
Then he feels electric shocks, like jolts, and then he hears a voice. The doctor's, Lo tengo.
I have him.
Yeah, I have him. Salva's utterly convinced God gave him a second chance right there.
Whether you interpret it spiritually or neurologically, it was clearly a deeply transformative experience for him. That sense of peace, detachment, hearing loved ones, the return. It changes people.
Absolutely pivotal. But incredibly, the ordeal isn't over. Not by a long shot. He wakes up later, in recovery.
Okay.
Lying next to someone who has died. A deceased person right beside him.
Oh, for crying out loud.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Seriously. Then, by 11 a.m., this is just hours after major surgery, the NDE, they move him.
Yeah.
Out to the hospital patio.
The patio, like outside, a post-op patient.
Yeah, out in the open air on the patio. Because, again, resources, presumably. Space.
That's just negligent. A staggering lack of appropriate post-operative care, moving a critical patient outside.
It's hard to comprehend. And then it gets worse. He gets an order, transfer again. This time to Cojutepeque, his hometown hospital.
Why?
They need the bed. Simple as that. Never mind, he just had major surgery, nearly died. They need the bed.
Unbelievable. Just shuffling him along.
His poor mother finally finds him in all this chaos. He's totally out of it. They put him in another ambulance, this one apparently dilapidated, really uncomfortable.
Oh, great.
And the ride is excruciating as the anesthesia wears off completely.
Just adding insult to injury at this point.
He gets to Cojutepeque Hospital. More of the same, sadly. They tell him to move himself to another bed. He physically can't.
Of course he can't.
They do a quick superficial check of his wound. He's worried. Says his abdomen is swelling more. They basically brush it off.
Dismissing his concerns again. Alarm bells should be ringing there. Swelling, pain.
But no. After just one night there, they discharge him, send him home.
Discharge him already after everything. That seems incredibly premature and risky.
He knew it was wrong, but what could he do? And, predictably, at home, things go downhill. Fast.
I bet. What happened?
Over the next 2 days, just rapidly deteriorating. More pain, abdomen swells up hugely, dizzy, constant vomiting.
Classic signs of a serious complication, likely a severe infection setting in.
He knew something was terribly wrong. This wasn't normal recovery. So he calls his friend again. Says, you got to get me to the Social Security hospital. He was desperate.
Thank goodness he listened to his body and pushed for more help. That decision was probably life-saving.
It really seems like it. He gets to the Social Security hospital. The doctor there initially looks at the wound, the stitches.
Yeah.
Says it looks okay externally.
Okay. But the symptoms? Fever, swelling.
Exactly. Salva's got a high fever, all these symptoms. He insists, no, something is wrong inside.
Good for him for advocating for himself.
Thankfully, this doctor listened. Decided to take out a few stitches just to peek underneath, and immediately recoils, shocked. The inside was a mess. Raging infection. Puss.
Oh, wow. So the external appearance was totally deceptive?
Completely. They realized he needed surgery. Again, right now. Emergency.
Another one.
Yep. And because he'd had anesthesia so recently, they couldn't put him fully under. They had to do it with, I guess, local or minimal sedation.
Oh, no. Cleaning out a deep, severe abdominal infection while mostly conscious.
Ugh.
That's horrific.
He described it as incredibly painful. They were literally scrubbing inside his abdomen. He said he lost so much blood the bed turned red.
I can't even imagine the agony and the trauma of it.
And it didn't stop there.
Ugh.
They had to do these washouts twice a day, cleaning the open wound. Painful every time.
Keeping it open to drain and clean. Aggressive treatment, but necessary for that kind of infection.
And a bacterial culture came back positive, confirmed serious infection. The blood loss continued too. It was bad.
So the neat external stitches were just hiding this disaster underneath. A crucial reminder, isn't it? Look beyond the surface.
Definitely. But then another curveball. He's in the Social Security hospital fighting this awful infection, and the doctor tells me he has to leave.
Leave? Why now?
Because he contracted a new infection, a hospital-acquired one.
Oh, you have got to be kidding me.
Nope. And the doctor gives him this stark ultimatum. Leave now. Come back every single day for wound cleaning, or stay here, risk dying from this new hospital infection on top of everything else.
What a choice. Basically leave or potentially die here.
So he has to leave with this open, infected abdominal wound and commute every day for 45 days.
How long was the commute?
An hour and a half to 2 hours each way.
Every day. In that condition. Extremely weak, open wound. That's brutal. An immense physical and emotional toll.
He was incredibly weak. Couldn't eat properly, couldn't drink much. He said the doctors basically told his family, prepare for the worst. They didn't think he'd make it.
It sounds like he was truly at death's door. Again, medically, the odds were stacked against him.
And this is where the story takes that final, really powerful turn. His mother, she's deeply religious, right? She's desperate, goes to her church pastor, pleads for help.
Okay.
And what happens next is kind of amazing. The pastor, members of the congregation, they start visiting Salva at home.
Even though he wasn't religious himself at the time?
Not at all. He admits that freely. But they came anyway, every single day.
Wow.
They brought food, financial help, sat with him, prayed for him.
That's incredible community support.
He said he was at rock bottom, no hope left. So he just thought, what have I got to lose? He agreed to believe. He started praying with them.
A leap of faith born from desperation, perhaps?
Seems like it. And during these visits, day after day, he starts feeling stronger. Gradually, but noticeably. Yeah. And then, about a week into these visits, he stands up on his own. Something that doctors thought was impossible just days before.
That's remarkable. Against all odds.
He fully embraces faith then, accepts Christ. And he is absolutely convinced to his core that God healed him. He credits that community, their prayers, his newfound belief for his complete recovery, which, medically speaking, was completely unexpected.
It's a powerful testament to, well, to something beyond just the medical, isn't it? Whether you call it faith, hope, community, the placebo effect, the mind-body connection, something profound happened there that defied the prognosis. It highlights how healing is so complex.
It really does. So he wraps up his story sharing these deep takeaways. He talks about life being unpredictable, how Time is God's, he says. Don't take it for granted.
Important reminder.
Stresses valuing relationships and reflects on his own transformation from someone focused on, worldly pleasure, ignoring faith, to someone deeply spiritual.
The ordeal changed him fundamentally.
Yeah. He even suggests that sometimes hardship, what he calls humiliation, is maybe necessary to push us toward seeking something higher.
An interesting perspective. Finding meaning in suffering.
He ends by urging listeners, reflect on your own life, your own path. Consider these things because, as he puts it, this moment right now could be your last chance. It's pretty intense.
It is. His reflections really hit home the fragility of life, the power of adversity to transform, the importance of faith for him, connection. It's a lot to absorb, that idea that difficulty can lead to deeper meaning. That's compelling.
Wow. Yeah. What an absolutely incredible and, frankly, harrowing journey we've just walked through with Salva's account.
Truly.
The number of unexpected, often shocking twists.
Yeah.
It's just relentless, isn't it?
It really is. You keep thinking things can't get worse, and then they do, until that final turn.
And the core themes that just stick with you, obviously the fragility of life, how quickly things can change.
Definitely.
But also the importance of human connection. We saw devastating failures in that within the system.
The dismissals, the abandonment.
But then also the flip side, right? That incredible life-saving support from his church community. Completely unexpected.
Yeah, the contrast is stark.
And ultimately, for Salva, the power of faith.
Yeah.
Facing just insurmountable odds, it seems.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? This whole deep dive into his story, it forces you to confront those big questions about life, suffering, resilience.
So for you, the learner, listening along, what parts of Salva's experience really resonated? Did any specific moment, maybe a challenge he faced, or an unexpected bit of support, did anything stand out for you personally?
It's hard to pick just one thing, honestly.
Oh, wow, right.
But for me, I think it's that sheer will to survive.
Yeah.
Despite everything collapsing around him, the system failing him repeatedly, he kept fighting.
Yeah.
And then finding that solace, that healing through faith and community when medicine seemed to have reached its limit. It's just a powerful story of human endurance. Finding hope in the absolute darkest places.
It really is a testament to resilience.
Yeah, absolutely. And, depending on the feedback we get, future deep dives could maybe explore some related areas like patient advocacy, maybe, how to navigate these complex healthcare systems.
Oh, that's interesting.
Or maybe the psychology of near-death experiences themselves, or even that intersection of faith, community, and healing. Lots to potentially explore there.
Definitely food for thought. Well, thank you so much for sharing this incredibly powerful source material with us.
Yeah.
It's been a really profound deep dive. We appreciate you trusting us to guide you through Salva's extraordinary and ultimately, transformative story.
It was quite something to explore.
And maybe, just to end, echoing Salva's own powerful point, let's all maybe take a moment, just reflect on the time we have, how precious it is, and, how we choose to live each moment we're given.